I wasn't good at worship when I first came on the floor. I wasn't. It was a problem for me. I was a churchy boy, choir, you know. When it's time to shout, you know, I got you. When it's time to do, you know, I got you. But worship wasn't my highest strength. So sometimes our Jodi will come in and she'll just start singing. She'll sing worship songs and go from here all the way to there, or from that extreme all the way there. What it does is it pulls you. It brings you to, you know what I mean? It takes you somewhere you've never been. So you all together have to develop a bond to where you can almost feel where she's going. Like, oh, okay, I know. Oh, you going? I got you. And it comes over time. It's not just going to, you know, it's not, that's just, go ahead.
I just wanted to throw in too. Sometimes you don't, like he was saying, you have to develop a relationship when you're in that house. But as a worshiper, like I do praise and worship in my own local church, but I also go out and do praise and worship. And I've been to dead churches where, you know, you walk in there and in all honesty, like, you know, the person is called on you to come and do praise and worship, and they have a praise and worship team. So you have the opposition from the praise and worship team. They don't want to get with you because they're like, why did you call her? You know, we got somebody here already. You know, and then you have the people like, who is this person? You know, we got a praise and worship team. I don't want to hear her. You know, but the whole thing is even about when you can't develop a relationship with the people that you're around, you have to depend on your relationship with God, because worship first is here and then it gives out. So once you receive from, I'm sorry, that's what we do. When you know, when you have developed that relationship with God and your worship is to Him first, then it comes out. So I don't worry about whether the people stand up or if they raise their hands, because my first responsibility is to minister to my audience of one. You know, this is who, you know, this is where my worship is coming from. That's where, and then once He gives to me, you'll begin to hear and you'll just be able to sing the song of the Lord. And I've been even, you know, before I even developed a relationship with JJ, and I was thinking about that too when he was saying, you know, you guys should come together. And when you can't, when the musician has and they have gotten that one-on-one relationship with the Lord, anybody can walk in, because I've been in services with him before we even really knew each other and just begin to sing, and he just pick it up. Because when you got that relationship, both of you got this one relationship, God is already putting you together and it's going to come out together.
But what's really frustrating is when you are a prepared Levite, you are a prepared worship leader or a minstrel into God, and you come in and you get with an unprepared minstrel or an instrumentalist or a keyboardist, because at this point this person is strictly just someone who is skilled, because they haven't spent any time in God's presence. They can run riffs and runs up and down. Baby, let me tell you, you can get in the presence of God. And this is how when my son first started learning how to play play the keyboard, I taught him by 2 chords. I said, I don't care, Prentice, get 2 chords and we about to have worship. And we would have worship in the house, and he would play and I'd be like, God, I bless your name, I give you glory, you're the most holy God, oh yeah, there was all the chords he knew, baby, and we would go in on 2 chords. So if you have that, if you as a musician take that time and spend that time in the presence of God, doing what she talked about, ministering to the Lord first with the audience of one, and on your keyboard, you know, get you 2 good chords, 3 good chords, 4. Get you 4, baby. You got 4. You doing good, honey. You can set an atmosphere in this house, and y'all can flow. So what I was gonna say was the same thing. Give me one moment, and I'm gonna get your question, because that's what we are here for. Okay, good. And make sure you put, if you got a question and you think you might forget like me, write it down. But as they were saying, as we talked about taking that time to practice the presence, there are times when we come into rehearsal and whatever is on the agenda, that's why you have to know enough material so that if God comes in and interrupts your rehearsal and say, I just want you to do this right now, you don't have to be stuck. You're stuck when you don't know what to do. When you haven't prepared, that's when you get stuck, because you don't have anything You know, you don't have nothing in your repertoire. You don't have anything in your box. You don't have anything in your reserve. You don't have anything prepared. That's when you get stuck.
Or when you over prepare to the point where I got these 3 songs and this is what we doing, and then I'm gonna sit down and God is pulling and pulling and pulling, and you feel the pull, but you have no idea where to go because you got this 3 and that's all you're thinking about is my list, is my format. Well, if this is my format, then but the service is over here. You might get up at a point where it's time to do praise and worship and the people are already in worship. Well, don't take them back to praise. You got to stay in the flow of where the service is.
Absolutely.
So you have to have a large enough repertoire. You know, you got to listen. I learned that from her. I listen to all kinds of music now. Country, Christian, everything. Because even sometimes when you might hear a melody and God gives you the words, that melody might come from somewhere else, and you just start singing these words because this is the words that's coming from Him, and it's just it might be to a melody of a song, but totally different words. So you have to keep your mind open. You have to constantly listen to it. I listen to worship all day at work. All day I'm just listening and listening. On Pandora, I just got a worship station. Christian music is playing. Everything is playing because you just don't know when it's going to come out, and sometimes the words that you've heard is what God wants to hear, but it may not be to the melody that you learn. So you just start singing those words because it's the words that's flowing with the service at this moment. So you gotta, like she said, you have to open. You gotta practice the presence. When you got some time at home, just practice. Just start singing and let it go from wherever it goes. Start one song, and if something else come in, let it go. Just let it go and keep going and keep going and keep going, and that's how you'll learn how to flow in whatever the atmosphere is that you're in.
And I was going to say the other thing too that helps to perpetuate that, especially when you're learning to do this, and Apostle taught us this even as worship leaders, because at first he used to choose the songs. He doesn't have to choose the songs that we do on a Sunday. If he has something in specific that he wants us to learn, we do that. We make sure it happens, whether he comes in and teaches it, whether I teach it. We make sure that it happens, but he taught us how to connect songs together that have the same vein, the same
going in the relationship between myself and the musician is going to get us to a point. Sometimes I have to sing a cappella. Just sing it until they get it. And then after I done sang it through a couple of times, then they go ahead and get it, and we flow right on into wherever we need to go to. But you have to know how to control the atmosphere. The one thing you have to understand is you are an atmosphere changer. You're standing in the place of changing an atmosphere. And you are supposed to command that atmosphere to go where you need it to go, and whatever God is calling for at that moment, you have to command that atmosphere to change it, and to make it go where you need to go. One thing that when I was learning about different atmospheres, because I would go to places that were really, really dry, and people just wouldn't stand and they wouldn't go, and I had to learn how to command them to go, because my thing is this is my relationship here. I'm not going to let you come in and have me trying to go this way, what you giving me, and I'm giving God this. No, it's got to come from the head down to me and then out. So I'm keeping my mind stayed on the point where I have to understand that I am in control of this atmosphere. So I'm going to give what God has given me. And there's an illustration that God showed me when I was thinking about atmosphere is he was showing me about snow. When it snows, there are ice crystals all the time in the atmosphere. They just don't form down into the snow until the atmosphere is correct for them to come out. So because it's there, we have to cultivate that atmosphere. So God's Spirit is hovering. He's ready at all times to come down and envelop that room. But we have to get the atmosphere correct. So you keep going. You keep pushing. You keep on striving until that atmosphere gets to a point where he's ready to flow. And when it gets there, you will not have to worry about anybody praising, worshiping with you, because it's going to happen. One thing that I try never to do, and I had to learn to stop saying, come on, put your hands together. Come on, stand up. Come on, let's worship. I stopped doing that. I don't have to invoke you to do anything. Once God brings it down and it starts coming out, you going. Whether you want to or not, before you realize it, you might be fell out your seat, because God is taking over. I have relinquished my control over where it is. Once that atmosphere gets to where it is, I've done my job. Now it's got my control to the Holy Spirit, and He's taking over that atmosphere. So you don't have to ask nobody to stand up. You don't have to ask nobody to cry. You ain't got to ask nobody to fall out. You ain't got to touch nobody. You ain't got to say, I see them tears coming, let them flow, let them flow. You won't have to say any of that. You won't have to do it. Because you've relinquished your control now, and God is totally taking over that atmosphere.
As a worship leader, playing behind my aunt and Apostle Benny is probably the best thing that I mean. Like, I would advise you, like, sometimes to listen to recordings of the service to see, like, okay, to get an idea of generally how things go, and you know what I mean. Practice. I mean, like, all right, let me give a good example. Sunday, Apostle starts singing "Press in Your Presence." But we were doing Have Your Way for sound check. Pressing Your Presence is a totally different key. But because he was somewhere else, I couldn't just shift. So normally, you know, they'll give you a little hint. So, have your way, have your way, have your way, have your way. I want to press in your presence. I feel like pressing in his presence. Generally, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get the little hint, you know, the little wink, or, you know, she might look, you know, I don't know how you guys communicate, but generally with Apostle, he'll shake his head, or he'll come whisper to me, she'll look my way, and, you know, we make eye contact, but as soon as you hear it, either transition immediately, and just make it sudden, and just so clean, to where, and it is not, let me tell you, practice it. Practice all your transitions. Practice all of your transitions.
And I would like to see that happen. Like maybe, I don't know, if, because I see the food is being set out and stuff, and I was thinking like, and I'm gonna get your questions before I want to address you guys. I know she had one first, he had one, and then you have a question. Okay, so the two of you have a question, and then we can break. And then when we gather back, if we could go to the sanctuary, and then that way we can begin to kind of, as Apostle calls them, practicums, or actually practicing the presence. And let's just, you know, put a few of these things into action. And it sounds like we might have to do a part 2 and maybe another time or whatever. Okay with that? Y'all like
Oh,
that?
that's wonderful.
Right.
That's
Well,
a
that'll get
blessing.
you back for a weekend.
We'll be ready then, though. We won't need them then.
Well,
We're ready to go to another level. Ready to go to another dimension.
What Apostle said last night.
All that I know.
All that I know is all that I know. But all that I know is all that I need to know. So we always got some more to know. By that time, we done found some more stuff.
Yeah. Tell me your name, please.
Kelly.
Okay, Kelly.
Okay, my question is, I have a question. I used to be on the praise and worship team, but I'm not on there now. And when I go out, and God, I'm out, and even just visiting or whatever, God give me a song to sing, I sing it, worship. I mean, God comes through the place, but it doesn't happen when I'm here at my house. I mean, it could if how can I put it? I don't feel like I'm able to use the gift that God has given me. Because God, I mean, I might not have the best voice, but when God gives me something, He always blesses in it. You know what I mean? So I know that part. But how do you, because see, even when I go in prayer and stuff, God gives me songs, I mean, like worship songs. I mean, songs that are the type of songs that you will use either during the altar or during just exhortation, you know what I mean? And I've written them down. I've written my songs down, and God give me worship songs and things to, you know, sing and stuff. But it's like,
Well, the one thing one thing I would say to that, and I don't know if you have something else, but maybe if I start, you might get something else. The one thing I remember when I first came to Overflow, and it was different from, I mean, I've been raised in holiness, so I've been in church all of my life. But when I came to Overflow, much like all of us that came into that type of ministry, or those types of ministries, it was different because at that time, we didn't even do praise and worship. We had devotional service, and then we did choir. You sang in the choir. So for coming into a place, I had to learn a whole nother selection and genre of songs and music, you know, that I didn't know. And so I remember when God was first waking up this gift, because I could write when I was younger, but to write the songs and what God, how one prophet said to me that you are a scribe in the house. So I would start writing songs that were specific to messages that were preached at the time, or specific words that would come. I would write based off of those things. And so I would be so excited about what I got, and I would want somebody to hear it, and I would want to be able to minister it, or I would want to, but it wasn't the time and it wasn't the place. And the one thing that Apostle would tell me, he would always say, or he would tell any of us, if God give you something and it's from him, it'll keep. And it might not, you might not get to, it may not in that moment or in that time or even when you want to, but if God gave it to you, it'll keep for the time when he says it's the right time for it to happen. The other thing too, I would say is that, I might have to talk to you separate and apart from everybody to find out why you're not on the team, because I'm interested to know that. And that might not be a discussion for right here.
Right.
So I respect that. And we can talk about that at another time. But I'm a firm believer in sometimes you just got to stick it out in the trenches.
That's right.
Because I dare not go get my gift to somewhere else. It doesn't matter that it does well somewhere else if it ain't doing well here.
That's right.
In the house where I'm planted.
That's right. That's right.
So we might have to talk about that on different, only because I understand protocol and I understand boundaries and all of that, and I'm here to be a blessing.
Right.
So I want to be able to bless you, but it might have to be on the sideline. So that's what we'll do. You know what I mean? So
That's real. That's awesome.
That's
real.
And
Right.
yes. Go ahead about that.
I just wanted to say something quickly on the same lines. I was where you were, like in my ministry that I attend now, and I'm just going to share my personal experience, so maybe it'll bless you and help you to see, when I first came, I was new to the particular type of worship. We came out of the same church, so we didn't really have worship service or praise and worship or any of that. I sang in the choir. That's what I was used to. So when I came and I was introduced to this praise and worship, and God started cultivating in me, like, this is what I've been trying to get to, like, this is it, so I was just as excited as she was. I'm ready. So, my pastor, he saw that in me and he placed me over the worship team. So, get over the worship team, and they were not as excited to see me as I was excited to see them. So it was just like, I want to give this to you. And they're like, look, sit down somewhere. Like, who are you? Where did you come from? So it was a lot of, opposition between myself and the team. And, I was doing, trying to get these unity exercises together that we could do this. And they still was not trying to see me, because they're like, you just came basically off the street. We don't know you from Adam. We've been doing this, and here you come, and he put you up.